So my name is Mike Forster, one of the founding members of Huddersfield People's Alliance for Change and Equality. I joined the Labour Party in 1972. That's where how far back it goes. Yeah, and I was expelled from the Labour Party in 1996, but have remained a socialist activist all that time. I was previously a member of the Militant Socialist Party and now Socialist Alternative.
What's been happening in Huddersfield at the moment? How did that start?
Huddersfield has been the crucible, really, of a lot of campaigns over the last 10 years, really, most of which have been successful. So in 2016, we launched a huge campaign to save our hospital an accident and emergency under the name of Hands Off HRI. And after 4 years, we forced the hospital trust back and the hospital was reprieved and they built us a new accident and emergency department. We were involved in Enough is Enough, and we launched a branch of Enough is Enough here and held two big demonstrations in Huddersfield. And then the Kirklees Council, our local council, announced a whole series of cuts in public spending, which was attacking vital public services, which resulted in 8 separate campaign groups being set up to save services that were threatened. And we brought together all of those campaigns into a movement called Stop the Cuts. And Stop the Cuts was also successful in saving 3 leisure centres, as well as 2 dementia care homes that were threatened with closure. And obviously, there has been a big movement in support of Gaza and Palestine, the Huddersfield Freedom for Palestine group, which has been holding regular demonstrations, protests, vigils for the last 18 months. And Kirklees has stood out really for the election of a number of independent councillors, 9 in total, and an independent MP in the Batley Dewsbury area, one of 4 independents who were elected in the general election, and they have all joined Jeremy Corbyn's group in Parliament. So the political pressure that we've been able to apply on the council around the cuts has forced a big split where more Labour councillors have defected from Labour, and now the Labour Party rules as a minority administration. All of these developments, we decided that we wanted to try and unite all of these different campaigns and political developments in Kirklees under one banner, which initially we called the Alliance of Resistance. And shortly after the alliance was launched, we found a new acronym, the People's Alliance for Change and Equality. And for the last 10 months, we have been planning the conference, which took place on the 10th of May in Huddersfield, which we considered to be a huge success.
So were most of you involved in the campaign in Dewsbury last year?
Yes, a lot of us were campaigning, obviously, for the councillors who were elected. And because of the ward boundaries of the independent MPs that got elected in the Dewsbury-Batley area, they coincided with the constituency of Iqbal Mohammed, the successful independent MP. So he stood really on the shoulders of the success of the independent councillors and was able to mobilise their support in support of his candidacy, which meant that he was able to overturn a Labour majority and return an independent MP. And of course, he was one of the guest speakers at our Conference of Resistance.
It's interesting because that was one election which myself and probably quite a few others were sort of blindsided by.
There hasn't been a council meeting in Kirklees for the last 1.5 years where we haven't organised a lobby. Some of the lobbies have really been quite big, up to 200 people attending to pressure the councillors into saving local services, as well as, of course, around resolutions in support of Palestine and calling for a boycott movement. So Huddersfield and the wider area of Kirklees has become a bedrock of activism. And we felt it was important, one, to sustain that activism through a wider network, and 2, to join the dots between all the different struggles and to demonstrate to those people who have been mobilised around the different issues that they have a lot in common. The chant that is probably the favourite of protesters is "One fight, we all unite," which is what PACE really is all about. And the success that we've had in pushing back the cuts has helped to galvanise the movement even further and give people confidence that we have got momentum behind us, and we have our sights now set on 2026 and the local elections.
How is PACE organised?
We're in uncharted territory. In the run-up to the conference, we'd released a proposal to trade union and labour movement organisations, the Stop the Cuts groups, Freedom for Palestine, and a number of other organisations, and invited them to support the idea of launching an alliance of resistance. From that group, we set up a provisional small organising committee which pulled together the conference. Following the conference, we have had a big follow-up meeting, and that meeting elected officers, and it also elected an organising committee. And there are two arms now to what PACE will be doing. One is social mobilisation, and the other is an electoral arm. Social mobilisation is supporting each other's struggles. So going down on the coaches to London this last weekend for the celebration or the marking of Nakba. And we are trying to mobilise for the People's Assembly demonstration next month. But we have already called a local demonstration in Huddersfield for the 20th of September, where we want to bring together all of these different campaigns, but particularly appealing to those marginalised communities who have felt and feel that they don't have a voice, particularly the disabled who are being clobbered by the government, but also looking towards the elderly and the winter fuel allowance cuts, but also towards single parents, towards the LGBTQ plus community, and of course the trade union movement and those people who are still fighting the cuts. So this is going to be a big demonstration for Huddersfield. We expect to be able to mobilise more than 500, which is why we put the call out now. Our alliance is not an electoral alliance exclusively. It's an alliance based on struggle. And so we want to assist struggles, develop struggles, and try and amplify struggles by bringing everyone together under the same banner and supporting what each other are doing. On the electoral front, we intend to stand PACE candidates in the 2026 elections. We'll be registering with the Electoral Commission, and we are already looking at areas where PACE can either stand directly or where PACE will support independents who will be standing again in order to increase the number of independents, as well as to try and get some more people elected onto the council who will stand on our platform. And the platform of PACE is very clear. No cuts to public services, no rent rises, no council tax rises, for a sustainable green energy policy, and for job creation. We've developed our own political programme, which was endorsed by the conference, and that's the programme on which we'll ask all candidates to stand in the elections.
At your rally, people were interested in and talking about the possibility of a new left party appearing. What's your personal stance on that?
So we made a very clear call at the beginning of the conference that we support the creation of a new left party. And to be honest, that set the tone, where the speakers predominantly supported the idea of a new left party. And in the case of Alan Gibbons from Liverpool, Claudia Webb from Leicester, and also Salma Yaqub, were all saying very clearly that they also supported the launch of a new left party, which was very encouraging. And we're hoping, out of the coalescence of all of the different groups that I know are now coming together under the banner of collective stroke solidarity, that plans are underway to look at the formation of a new party. Given the threat that is now posed by reform, and given also the backsliding of this Labour government, which has gone further and faster than we thought in terms of backtracking on earlier pledges that were made by Starmer when he was elected as the leader, the working class doesn't have a political voice any longer that represents their interests, and there is a danger that they will gravitate towards reform because there's no other alternative. We therefore think in Huddersfield that it's become quite urgent that we launch a new left party. We see PACE as developing into that party, and if one is launched nationally, we would want to be aligned and affiliated to such a movement. We will want to maintain our own identity because we've launched as PACE, but it would be as an affiliate to a new party. So we sincerely hope that within the next few weeks, on a national basis, those who have been calling for a party can make that voice and that call known very widely, and there will be huge support for that in our neck of the woods.
Are there any political groups in particular who are not part of PACE?
Well, what was refreshing about our conference is that over 50% of the people who attended were at their first ever political conference. That was also reflected in the attendance that we had at the follow-up meeting. Half of the officers who have put themselves forward for election are fresh to political struggle. So in reality, we've got people who feel the same as I do, that we need a new political alternative, and they've decided they want to do something about it. So this is a campaign group that is largely free of overt political influence from groupings, although, as I say, I'm a member of Socialist Alternative, and there will be some members of Socialist Alternative involved, but there is no other identifiable left group. Everyone else, I would suggest, are former Labour Party members or non-aligned and fresh to struggle who are keen to get going. So we're looking forward really to how this is going to evolve and develop. We understand that those who are coming to this for the first time will need advice and guidance, but that's a far more exciting challenge than if we're trying to unite left groups that may have their own agendas, and our agenda is going to be completely open to all those who participate. So we're very keen to create a democratic and accountable structure, which we hope we've done. So the organising committee will be meeting once a month. We will also be having open assemblies where we'll be inviting members of the public to attend and to discuss the different issues that we want to identify as part of the themes that will be pushed out during the demonstration on the 20th of September. I have to say, we are indebted really to the work that Anwar in particular did in the early stages in helping us to find speakers for our conference. We were confident that we would have an attendance of more than 100, but we had a bit of a stellar lineup in the end, largely because of the work that Transform was able to do in persuading Alan Gibbons to come, Jamie Driscoll, Salma Yaqub, and Claudia Webb, and of course, finally, Jeremy Corbyn, as well as our local MP. We weren't confident that Jeremy was going to attend until really the last week prior to the conference. But once we were able to put that out in the public domain, it meant that we were able to have a much bigger attendance. And to be honest, what that reinforced in the minds of the provisional organising committee is that all help from different groups that are involved in collective have been enormously beneficial in helping us to get off the ground and to attract national attention. So we'd like to extend heartfelt gratitude really to Transform, and also to Assemble, and to the Peace and Justice Project, and to Collective, the assistance that they've given us in the background to make sure this was such a great event. And we look forward to continuing with that collaborative relationship. All right, well, thank you very much.